Can I have a moment? Good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, cool, thanks.
Did we hand out information? Packet? I have some information I want to hand out as well. This is a report from the CDC. Yep, I read it. Thank you, appreciate it. From the CDC. Let me know when you're ready. Good afternoon. I want to thank you for attending today. We're here to formally announce that Natasha and Jake Schmidt of Gorham, Maine, have filed suit against the operators of the Friendly Village Mobile Home Park, also located in Gorham, Maine. The suit seeks in excess of $150 million in damages. Jake and Natasha are with us here today. This is not a money grab. The purpose for this is to obviously receive compensation for the loss of Oakley's life, but equally important, the number one leading cause of death in the United States repeatedly annually for 1 to 4-year-olds is drowning. CBS News has reported in the past year that drowning for children has reached epidemic proportions in the United States. Prior to beginning today, I handed out a fact sheet from the CDC. The CDC reports that between the years 2020 to 2022, annually, over 4,500 deaths resulted from drowning, and the number keeps going up. The purpose for this lawsuit is to hold a corporation, an out-of-state corporation that runs mobile home parks all over the United States, accountable for neglect of their properties. Corporations exist for profit. Some corporations are good community citizens. Other corporations put profit over people. In this instance, Oakley's death was preventable. The fence that surrounded the swimming pool at Friendly Village had been deteriorating without repairs for over 30 years. You can pull up the bottom of the fence and roll under it. There are holes punched through the fence that people can climb over the fence. Rather than spend a few $100s in fence repairs, Friendly Village, the operators, the out-of-state corporation, chose to collect multi-millions of dollars in profit and spend next to nothing, if anything, on repairing the fence. By bringing this claim, Jake and Natasha do not deflect their responsibility whatsoever. But as anyone with children know, no matter how careful you are, no matter how attentive you are, there comes a time when a child does dart off. And that's why we have fences around swimming pools. The purpose and job of a fence is to protect children and act as a barricade. Maine has a statute that applies to fences. The statute says that the operator of a swimming pool in the state of Maine must have a quality fence that acts as a barrier to exclude children. The fence at Friendly Village miserably failed Maine's law. On May 22, 2024, the Schmidt family was home. They were preparing for a barbecue. Outside was Jake and his two boys, Grayson and Oakley. Jake was preparing the barbecue, and Jake and Grayson were watching Oakley. Inexplicably and tragically, Oakley darted off. When Jake and Natasha realized, and they did quickly, that Oakley darted off, a community search ensued. And a first responder who lived in the community or nearby the community, together with Jake, found Oakley face down in the community swimming pool. They leaped the fence and they worked to resurrect Oakley, but they were unsuccessful. Natasha was watching through the fence. A few $100s in fence repairs to restore the fence would have saved Oakley's life. Fences exist to protect children. We have an industry, commercial property owners that operate swimming pools in Maine and throughout the United States that obviously are irresponsible, because if they were responsible, we wouldn't have an epidemic of 4,500 lives lost per year, and it wouldn't be the #1 cause of death for children 1 to 4. The only way to motivate an industry to make improvements and restore putting people over profit is to motivate them with a meaningful jury verdict that there will be a cost to doing business in Maine and in the United States when major corporations put profits over people. Last month, a jury in Colorado ordered a corporate operator of an amusement park to pay a family $205 million in damages because that corporation put profits over people. To hold corporations accountable and ensure our communities and our children are safe, it's the only way to accomplish safety in amusement parks, safety in community pools, is to have a price that is so high that it incentivizes corporations to make necessary repairs to fencing, necessary repairs to amusement rides in order to protect our children. So I would like to add that the loss of a child in a situation like this is one of the most painful things that a parent can experience. Many parents cannot talk about it. And so I would ask that if you have questions, to please direct them at me. I'm happy to answer your questions. I did consult with Jake and Natasha beforehand, and they prefer not to speak directly because of the unique and sensitive nature of the subject. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take those now.
Last time you had a press event, you mentioned a safety engineer that you had hoped to go out and survey that pool area. I wondered if that happened, and what did they find in their investigation if it did happen?
So we last spoke to you approximately a year ago, and during the past year, we've invested literally hundreds of hours in evaluating and investigating the claim. We've hired 2 safety engineers. We've hired the leading civil engineer in the state of Maine. And interestingly, we've hired the leading swimming, pool, and drowning expert in the United States. He happens to live in Kennebunkport, Maine. He works on these issues all over the country. It's his life's dedication. His name's Gerald Dworkin. Both of them have joined our team. Our civil engineer has evaluated the fence. We've also hired a private investigator who did a forensic investigation. And between our civil engineer, our forensic investigation, and Mr. Dworkin, we're confident as to being able to establish how Oakley entered the fence. We're confident that we will establish that the fence is dangerous, that the mobile home park was aware of the danger, knew of it, and intentionally ignored it. And we're confident that we'll be able to prove that in court with photographs, video recordings, and the testimony of the professionals who have personally been to the site and investigated it.
Are you able to share what the flaws are?
Sure.
Were with that fence?
Sure. The purpose of the fence is to act as a barrier to keep children out, and as Maine law requires, it's got to be a quality structure. If you want to cite to the law, it's 11 MRS, it's 22 MRS 1131. And it has...
What were the flaws found in the investigation? Because we talked to people at the facility and said, people who live there and are familiar with the incident, and they said that there were no holes, there were no gaps.
Well, then they're blind people, or they're just there to support the operators of the mobile home park because they have relationships with them. But
well, they weren't fans of the mobile home owners either, but they said, so I guess the question is, what evidence do you have, because you'll need to show evidence,
Sure.
that there was a flaw in the fence? And I'm just wondering, was it a hole? Was it a gap where he was able to squeeze through? 'Cause that's what...
I'm trying to answer your
Okay,
question.
sorry.
That's exactly, I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer the question, of course. The fence was dangerous for the following reasons. One, it's at various points not anchored to the ground, and so it can be easily, with one hand and very little pressure, pulled up from the ground, and an adult, let alone a child, can roll underneath it. And so if you were to go out there and walk around the fence and pull it up from its skirt in various positions, you would be able to do that. Additionally, the home is located, the swimming pool is located next to a child's playground. And so children are attracted to the playground, and when they're at the playground, because it's right next door, that location of the playground right next to the swimming pool fence is where the fence literally lifts up from the ground that you can roll underneath it. So the placement of that fencing that is not connected to the ground is of particular concern. But additionally, and this has been the condition of the fence for many years, holes have been punched through the fence in the location of the gate that act as a makeshift ladder that allow children to climb up and over that gate. And apparently that's been going on at the Friendly Village for many, many years. And the prongs that are on top of that gate have the sharp prongs that are on top of a fence. They've been hammered down flat so that when a child goes up and over it, they won't scratch or cut themselves. And so Friendly Village, for many, many years, has had a makeshift fence that allows children to literally climb up by placing their feet in punched through holes and then over the top because the prongs have been punched down. And a few $100s, the replacement of that gate, would have prevented this tragedy.
What proof do you have that the village was not trying to fix this fence?
Okay, well, one, they didn't fix it, and two, they were aware of the condition. Can we get that picture?
The poster?
Yeah. Maddie, can you bring me the 2 posters, please?
It's the same one that's still currently standing, right, the chain link?
Still there.
Yeah.
But I have pictures. Let me demonstrate for you. Thank you. You might want to scroll down to see the pictures. But this is a picture of the gate at Friendly Village. You can see one of the big gaping holes where the chain that encloses locks the gate is located. Obviously, an employee of Friendly Village placed the chain with the lock through the hole and locked it. That's how the gate appeared on the day that Oakley climbed up over the fence and into the pool area. There was a chain, that chain exactly, in that same location. So Friendly Village knew of the holes in the gate because they put a chain link lock through the hole, and they obviously knew that somebody banged the prongs down on the top of the fence because the purpose for those prongs is to prevent a child from going over the top, and some children, perhaps older children, that wanted to get in at night, knock those down with a hammer. So if you've had people in the community tell you there are no holes in the fence, like I said, they're either blind or they're looking to protect the corporation for whatever reason. But there's clearly a deteriorated fence that acts as a makeshift ladder that has been designed by someone, and it allowed Oakley access to what should not have been accessible to him.
So that hole, it's not, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from pictures, but it doesn't look that big. So you think that Oakley climbed up over the fence? Right?
There's video recording that shows Oakley movements that day. And so the video recording begins with Oakley in the playground area. The police have the video recording, the Gorham police, and they've not released it yet. We've requested it, but they have shown it to us. So the video recording begins with Oakley in the playground area, and then you see Oakley head to the location of this gate. And then immediately after he heads to the location of the gate, you see Oakley standing right in front of the gate inside the pool area. So Oakley entered the pool area from that gate, and there's only 2 ways for him to have done so. Either that chain link lock was not tight enough so that he was able to slip through the 2 poles of the locked door, or alternatively, he climbed through the makeshift ladder up over the top of the fence, because holes were punched into that gate so that the toes of people's sneakers would fit through and they'd be able to navigate a climb over and above. And I can't think of any other reason why the prongs are punched down, and the prongs are not punched down anywhere else along the perimeter of that fence. That's the only location where the prongs are all knocked down. So he either gained access by slipping through the 2 poles because it was loosely locked, or he gained access by going over the top using the makeshift ladder. But there's a video recording that clearly shows him entering in that location, and it only took a moment.
And do you think the village purposely hammered down the prongs on the top?
No, I think some kid that lived in the village years ago hammered down the prong because kids wanted to get in there at night when the pool was closed, and so they punched the holes through the fence and they hammered it down. And I think that children see other children do things and then attempt to emulate those children, and so I think it's a learned behavior. We've also hired an expert in child behavior, and our expert in child behavior tells us that children often see older children, for instance, climb over and navigate a fence like this, and it's more likely than not that Oakley saw an older child do that, and so Oakley knew by learned behavior how to gain entrance to the swimming pool, and so that's what we believe.
Is there any evidence or email communications or written communications between the owners and whoever is managing this place to say, we got a problem here, this needs to be fixed, and would be evidence that whether they ignored it or not?
Well, we've subpoenaed all that, and we haven't received it yet. So when we do receive it, we will update you with what we receive, but we have asked for those materials. But I would submit this. Somebody put that chain link lock through the hole that acts as a makeshift ladder. And so that person is an employee of Friendly Village and likely a management level employee because of the type of staff they have. They have management of maintenance, and then they have management of the whole property. And this fence, this gate is literally next to maybe a foot and a half from the building in which the most senior level management person at Friendly Village has his office. So I find it hard to, hard to understand how for years this went unnoticed. I mean, they obviously knew of it. They put a lock through it. They left it. And when they saw that hole and they saw the prongs were banged down, at minimum, if they just discovered it in 2024, which I highly doubt, they shouldn't have filled the pool with water. They should have waited. They should have repaired the fence, and then they could have filled their pool with water.
If this goes to trial, or when can we expect the trial? I know you requested a jury trial. I know it would be in Cumberland County, but.
1.5 to 2 years is the schedule right now in Cumberland County.
And when we spoke with neighbors in the area, they mentioned to us that they would often see Oakley wandering around the neighborhood. Is that true?
I have no knowledge of that, and so I don't know who those people are. Our forensic evaluators did not hear anything like that, and so I don't know the source, and and so I can't comment on that. I don't know.
And do you know how old the older brother was that was Grayson?
Approximately 2 years older.
2 years older.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, no. I want to thank you for attending.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
I did have one, just follow up here. I saw a video, or I don't know who that was, but this is our people, and they were explaining how at the bottom, and they were showing this video. What was that?
That was the people that lived in the community at the very beginning showing us the condition of the fence.